Hi, Alicia. Carolyn first. So here's what happened. And Carolyn talks.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi. So I'm Bajan. I'm Barbadian. I'm from the Caribbean. So I was overjoyed to see the inclusion of a Caribbean island. May not have been Barbados, but at least it was Jamaica, and everybody loves their jerk chicken.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Before you finish, it was a fight. I tried to go to Barbados first.
What?
Yes, it was an inner fight with my people. I was like, ah! And Jamaica won, but we're coming to Barbados, hopefully in a season 2 or 3. We're definitely coming, but I just had to say that.
Oh, the Jamaicans always getting an edge, but I was still happy to see a Caribbean island. But one of the things that has always kind of irked me about how not only West Indian and Caribbean food, but soul food in general, especially those, is because soul food, to me, I've always associated with the emancipation of Black people, and more not necessarily the emancipation of slavery, but the emancipation of the mentally freeing ourselves from oppression. Like even while Black people were still enslaved, like they still held on to their traditions, you know.
Yes.
We held on to our roots and everything. And all of the countries you visited, especially Peru and Jamaica, you know, and it talked about all of these similarities of how Black people were oppressed, and they still found a way to hold on to the roots and build new varieties of food and working with each other and like learning how to work with the land. And as a classically trained chef, I wanted to ask you, how has your perception of the idea of classically trained chefs and classical food changed since doing this series? Because what we know as classical food and classically trained chefs has a lot to do with the European idea of exceptionalism, you know, and what talking about slavery and the oppression of Black and indigenous people in North America and across Latin and South America, like you realize, to me, there shouldn't be a class system for food, but there still is. So how has your perception of class and classifying food changed since doing this series?
Wow, that is a terrific question, because as this classically trained chef, I've always thought of that. You know, that was part of, and I have to be completely honest, when I became a chef, that was part of me trying to get away from soul food. Like, this is, how do I become a real chef? Like, I'm not real if you know what I mean? And before the journey, but it's not that I'm mad at my classical training. It's technique that you mostly learn, how to run a restaurant, how to do that. Certain techniques. Now you can pull from what you need and then bring them into your culture. But I've learned so much through being classically trained that I apply it to the culture. But you know, it's all who got there first and who had enough money to say that this is it. You see what I'm saying? Because if it was a different technique that might have been of color, we would all be following that technique. And that's it. I think it was the structure that was put in place and everybody followed suit. Unfortunately, we you know, colored food, if you will, people of color's food kind of didn't fit in their box because it was created, but now it's getting more reputation. It's getting, you know, celebrated. I don't think they still understand it. So hopefully that this would kind of, you know, the show kind of starts to open up these boxes, because there's techniques in each culture that aren't classical that matter. You know what I mean? And it's not that they don't matter, but they should be celebrated and lifted up, if that makes any sense. Because there's things that mama could do that no classically trained chef can find out and know how to do. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like on both sides, you know. I'm very grateful for my classical training. I think that it helps me, you know, run a restaurant, know how to all of these things. But at the same time, for a long time, I thought that that was the only way to go. And hopefully that this brings people together, because we are connected through the actual ingredients that have traveled around the planet for hundreds and thousands of years. So, you know, I was a little bit shady at first against the James Beards and the whole thing, because I know, but when you have a talent, when you want to inspire, you have to choose your battles. And then if you're inspiring enough, there's other battles that may work out within the inspiring that's right in front of you. And that's what I kind of look at it. I don't fight battles that I don't know how to fight or that are bigger than me. I'm going to fight the battles that are right here in front of me and inspire these people that are right here in front of me and be as transparent and be able to tell my story, thanks to Hulu and Onyx Collective, you know, in a way that is me and unabashed and very entertaining, but you know, you walk away learning something. I learned so much. And being Black, we walking around here thinking that we invented hush puppies. We just didn't. And not knowing that the Indians sacrifice and don't have their corn. And we over here hush puppy in it and hot water cornbread, and they don't even have this anymore because it was taken from them. So for that, it was learning so much about even my own people that I didn't know, you know, and through food.
Great.
Did anybody say I could talk? I know how to talk. I like to.
No, it's a great answer. Thank you. So before we talked about the
Flying fish.
Listen, nothing don't touch flying fish, okay? That's for our national dish.
I'm coming for the flying fish. You don't understand my battle to go to Barbados before. Yeah, so we're going next season. If we get a next season, you will see me.
You definitely gotta go for the flying fish at Cuckoo. I was speaking about that actually. It kind of ties in my question. So like before, I asked you about the whole idea of classifying food and the whole idea of classical training. But the other thing that I love about food, especially what really comes through in your show, like you talk, is about searching for soul food, and it's talking about finding the soul and heart and love on the community through food. But one of the other things that I've always found with regards to how people of color in particular relate to food is, especially those of us who are descendants of enslaved Black people, food is our way of holding on to our roots, but it's also a sign of rebellion. You know, it's a symbol of our fortitude and how determined we are as a people intrinsically. Like we will use the scraps that you gave and will make food that they would end up wanting to copy, you know.
Exactly.
Like food that they end up wanting to gentrify.
Absolutely.
That our people had to make do it. And that's the same in the Caribbean. It was the same in the Caribbean. Like a lot of our dishes came from making food with the things that are the slave masters threw away, or that they banned Black people from holding. So I want you to talk about the idea of using food to reclaim our past and to reclaim our identity as Black people and to reclaim our identity as Indigenous people, because especially for the Native American people and Black African Americans, as well as in the Caribbean, because we have a lot of Indigenous Indians in the Caribbean. Like my mom's side of the family is Indigenous Guyanese. You know, so like that's our way of connecting to our ancestry, is through food. So talk about using food as a sign of rebellion against oppression.
Well, 100%. I think that over time, our expression of rebellion became this symbol of a shame and guilt, because we wanted, you know, we started getting more into the fact that they were scrapped and less into the fact that we created something from nothing. You know, magicians, literally. And I think that that's so important in the fact that we talked about the James Beard. Is like, it says something about, you know, somebody asked me, am I a creator? I think we're all creators. You know what I'm saying? Because we had to create life from nothing. We had to create meals from nothing. And I think that those symbols of rebellion, like you say, are one of the most creative things, that it is intimidating. So if I was a colonizer, I would hold it down too. You can't let them have anything that they know that is good. But again, that's why it's called soul food, because you can't contain this rebellion in everything. You know what I mean? In the food itself. And these meals stood the test of time. That rebellion, that jerk, that, you know, you're in battle. You got a pig underneath smoking while you're killing and surviving. These are things that could never be taken away, but now it's time, and it's okay to tell the stories of these things, the stories, because that's what brings people together. And that's what lets people get off this stereotype because they just don't know. You know what I mean? And I think it creates more compassion to people that don't look like us. Because they're like, damn, oh, we just thought it was rice and beans and fucking reggae. It's not. You know what I mean? And so but it goes beyond the plate because that is who we are. And sometimes we are depicted in other ways. And it's hard for people to kind of like get that out of their head. And I think the future is tearing down those stereotypes and looking at our creativity as who we are versus the stereotypes. And I think food is my way of trying to start that conversation.
Great, thank you so much. And go to Guyana too. The Barbados and Guyana have interesting connections.
No, but somebody told me Guyana for just like a vacay, like it's they have some amazing resorts and it's like killing it right now. So it's on my list, definitely. And Brazil. We wanted to go to Brazil this season, but it was rainy season when we were shooting. And so we didn't get a chance to go because I want to go to the Amazon. I have friends that parents live, my friend's aunt lives inside the Amazon. So I want to, dig deep, wake up in a hammock with a whole bunch of mosquito repellent on me.